almost like the Flashpoint, where it starts, one of the key matrix lines that will help shatter this status centralized.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is Tuesday, August 14th, 2012. I am Jay-Z, and this is Flashpoint Radio. Thank you for joining me tonight. We've got some stories about the CIA, Al-Qaeda, the Syria conflict, whistleblowers, drug dealing, and the police state, of course. It is Tuesday, and we're going to focus on some stories brought to our attention by Zach over at tyrannywatch.org. Remember, follow him on Twitter at tyrannywatch1 and facebook.com/tyrannywatch. We're going to get started with an article I covered yesterday on Flashpoint Radio, but this is a even deeper boil down and has even better links from networkworld.com. Wikileaks dumps Stratfor email dirt on Trapwire, a CIA-connected global spying system. Yesterday, we focused on the fact that the Abraxas Corporation, a Virginia tech firm, has been secretly putting up surveillance cameras around the country in public and private places. The ones you thought the government owned are owned by a private company. That, in turn, sells them to the government and other multinational corporations. Watch my episode yesterday. I showed screenshots from their webpage, their home page. So this is a bigger boil down, has links to the WikiLeaks emails. You can search them yourself, find out what they've been saying about spying on you. I bet it makes you feel oh so safe to know that your local grocer needs all of those video cameras. And remember, those are face scanning cameras, so they know who you are. Moving along to an article from law.com. This is some good news, I suppose, out of the Justice Department. New ombudsman to set the tone for whistleblowers at the Department of Justice. The U.S. Department of Justice is flashing a green light to whistleblowers in its own ranks. On Wednesday, the agency announced the creation of a new position, that of whistleblower ombudsperson. And, well, they are put in a position of power to make people feel okay blowing the whistle on their corrupt co-workers. I think it's a great thing, but when our entire Justice Department is embroiled in scandal after scandal, how much can we expect from that department? So, who watches the watchers? This person was still appointed by people in the government. Therefore, they will never do the due diligence and the deep digging to find the true crimes being committed by our government. From the Jackson Free Press, DOJ, state again stepping on kids' rights. The DOJ gets it right every once in a while. The last time the U.S. Department of Justice investigated the treatment of youth in Mississippi's criminal justice system in 2006, it led to a class action lawsuit. Turns out they've come back and, well, there are abuses going on. Seems they are arresting children. These are juveniles. Arresting them at school for minor infractions such as dress code violations, stating they're violating their probation of juvenile detention, and sending them back to juvenile incarceration. The DOJ investigation showed that the agencies have helped to operate a school-to-prison pipeline. Always good to hear when dealing with our government and your public schools. A school-to-prison pipeline. That is, in fact, what most of the public schools in this country are, a school-to-prison pipeline. And in prison, when they're put in there for nonviolent drug offenses and other things that are probably rehabilitation worthy and not incarceration worthy, yet they are trained how to be real criminals. Our schools train kids how to get to prison. Our prisons train kids how to become felons. That is the system, and those prisons are run by private corporations, probably using the same video cameras that are spying on you. From the Miami Herald, we said we were talking about the CIA. Poland peels back layers on CIA detention center. There's a investigation going on in Poland over a black site, one of those sites in foreign countries where our government, our CIA, would fly alleged Al-Qaeda terrorists and torture them without the knowledge normally of the foreign country's government, or at least their elected governments. This is the only known investigation and trial of the CIA's black site operations in the world. Read about it. This is what goes on at Guantanamo. The same Guantanamo Bay that President Obama pledged to close down when he was running for president in 2008. One thing he did do is close the CIA's black site operations. Unfortunately, he left himself a giant loophole. From the nation, impunity at home, rendition abroad. Yes, he closed down the black sites such as in Poland, and instead has turned to the extraordinary rendition program where you put Al-Qaeda prisoners, suspected prisoners, on jets and you fly them to countries like Somalia and Afghanistan and let those foreign allies do the dirty work that they love to do so much just to keep us out of the press. And how about a story that spanned the last two administrations? Fast and the Furious. From the Blaze, high-ranking Mexican drug cartel member makes explosive allegation Fast and Furious is not what you think it is. A member of the Sinaloa drug cartel was brought into Chicago to face federal charges last year, and he has blown the whistle on the CIA's drug-running operations. He's basically said that they are paying the Sinaloa drug cartel in order to destroy their rivals, in order to cause chaos in Mexico. Kind of like exactly what's going on in Syria and Libya. The funny part about this story from The Blaze, Glenn Beck's rag, is that this story can be found from an article from 2011 in April on Infowars.com, when it actually was news, not a year plus later like Glenn Beck wants to make it believe. And Glenn Beck definitely, probably, most likely will not cover this as well. From the Asia Times, Al-Qaeda flags fly over rebel-held Syria. There has recently been a small stir in the American media, a small stir, as media organizations from the New York Times to the Wall Street Journal to the Associated Press have finally gotten around to acknowledging a presence of Al-Qaeda and like-minded jihadist groups among the Syrian rebel forces seeking to topple the regime of Bashar al-Assad. Yes, our media is not reporting on our government's involvement in revolutionary movements around the globe. Insurrections. Why? They don't want you to get the wrong idea that it's right to overthrow a corrupt government. But Al-Qaeda in Syria, Al-Qaeda flags fly over Syria, they flew over Libya, but that's just what they do. We can't control what happens in Syria. We don't control what happens in the Middle East. Or do we? From avionicsintelligence.com, CIA allegedly overseeing arms into Syria. You heard me correctly. Syrian opposition officials claim the CIA is controlling weapons flow to Syrian insurgents. Quote, not one bullet enters Syria without U.S. approval, a Syrian opposition speaking in Istanbul told the Australian newspaper. The Americans want the rebellion to continue, but they are not allowing enough supplies to make the Damascus regime fall. Yes, our government, the CIA, your tax dollars, or probably the drug profits from Fast and the Furious, are going to fund Al-Qaeda in Syria. Al-Qaeda in Syria shooting with our bullets. Your government loves you so much. Don't you ever forget that. Well, that's all the time I have today on Flashpoint Radio. Remember to go see Zach at tyrannywatch.org. Follow him on Twitter at tyrannywatch1. And come back and see me next time. Jay-Z signing off for Flashpoint Radio, saying God bless and keep your eyes to the sky.
Get off the wall. It's time.